Wow, okay, so that was a lot closer than it needed to be, but after a win against Dallas, let's make sure to let him hear it. Of course, it wasn't without a couple injuries with Dallas Goedert out, so who is Howie calling as a replacement? Jalen Hurts admitted to needing rest for his knee while also calling out the team. Mailata takes the blame, plus Kenny G may have been written off, but he didn't write back. This time. But first, let's run it. Alright, so as most of you know by now, it was national icon Jason Kelce's birthday yesterday, and what a better way to celebrate sexy Batman than with a win over Dallas, because as we all know, Dallas sucks. And once Cowboys fans messed with the Rocky statue, it was just about over. Although those of us who lived through the ups and downs of the NFC East rivalry game, like E-Rock did, needed to be hospitalized. Heck, even GM Howie Roseman, who came down onto the field to catch the final play of the game, could barely stand it. Not gonna lie, pretty cool to see Howie showing so much emotion afterward. The best part is that we're 8-1 and the bye couldn't come at a better time, which is exactly what Jalen Hurts said afterward, and more on that in a bit for why that's significant. But the pass defense could probably use the break more than anyone else, because after getting an initial stop on Dallas on their opening drive, it was all downhill in the first half for Desai's unit. Thankfully, the offense set the tone though, with Sirianni dialing up the brotherly shove on 4th and 1 from Philly's own 32. Of course, why wouldn't you? It never fails. Even after Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn seemed to think they had a decent chance to stop it this week. Sorry about you. Anyway, after converting, Jalen hit A.J. Brown for 20 yards to move into Dallas territory before Jordan Mailata, who struggled in the first half, gave up a sack to Sam Williams. Yet Hurts continued to keep the drive alive, this time on a 4th and 3 from the Dallas 27, as the solution turned out to be Dallas Goedert to beat Dallas for 15 yards and move the chains. And then Kenny Gainwell answered the call by taking the rock and following some blocks for 12 yards while somersaulting into the end zone, which, let me just say, I'm like Brandon Lee Gouton, who said, "Nice TD run by Kenny Gainwell, whom I never criticize nor questions the coaching staff using him in the red zone."
Do you even know what you just said?
Honestly, I'm all the way to the point of wanting to see Rashaad Penny, because 51 carries for 153 yards on 3 yards per carry for gain none isn't gonna cut it, which is why I'll say, hopefully we see a change soon. Okay, fine. You know, sometimes I let the emotions get the better of me. But like Outside the Bird said, they tried to write Kenny G off, and this time he didn't write back. What can I say? It's a what have you done for me lately type of league. Yet speaking of that, rookie Tyler Steen deserves some credit as well, as he got his first start at right guard, taking over for Sua Opeta. And despite some ups and downs, Lane Johnson was proud of the 23-year-old.
I'm taking on hell with a squirt gun. You know, it's, you know what it is. I mean, going into the week, you know, even when Micah and DeMarcus come out, they have Dante Fowler, you know, Armstrong. They have guys that can really rush the passer. And, you know, hats off to Steen, man. That's a hell of a first start. You know, this is one of the better defensive fronts in the league. So I was proud of how he did, short notice. So, you know, it's really proud of how we battled.
Yeah, not bad for his first start, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point we want Cam Jurgens back, because that was just about the only major bright spot in the running game. Sure, Rashaad Penny got a couple carries in the second half, and DeAndre Swift toted the rock 18 times, but he only managed 43 yards on 2.4 yards per carry. I mean, sure, give Dallas some credit, but this continues to be a constant theme, with the Birds only averaging 3.3 yards per carry against the Cowboys. But despite those struggles, the Brian Johnson offense is number 2 in points, number 2 in yards, number 1 in first downs, and top 5 in both rushing and passing yards. As ESP pointed out, they have more points in 9 games this year than they did last year. I know that's hard to believe, but thankfully they do, because we needed that offense, especially against Dallas. With Dak finding answers of wide receiver CeeDee Lamb and tight end Jake Ferguson nearly all night, converting their 4th down on a busted coverage by Eli Ricks, and then Dak eventually connecting with Ferguson to tie up the game 7-7, where on the next possession the Eagles couldn't answer back, with Hurts being sacked and then giving the ball back to Dallas, as Prescott escaped pressure and shockingly found his tight end for 40 yards. However, Hassan Reddick did his best to stall the drive with a massive sack, but unfortunately it felt like nearly every long third down in the first half was converted, taking advantage of the Ricks on Lamb matchup to move down the field and culminating in a Dallas 14-7 lead when Dak found Turpin. Honestly, I said this during the game too, but it felt a lot like the Commanders game early on. Yet thankfully, the Birds' offense was up to the task, as Hurts found Smitty for 20 yards, followed by 20 more, thanks to some creative play calling by BDay and that extension of the running game he likes to talk about to Swift, who got a great block from Kenny G before the drive made its way to the 1 and QB1 was pushed in for the score, which tied it all up at 14 and marked the 33rd rushing touchdown for Jalen, passing Randall Cunningham and breaking the Eagles' all-time record for most rushing scores by a QB. And it's crazy, like Matt Mullen pointed out, Hurts is now 1/3 of the way to the Eagles' franchise record for rushing touchdowns regardless of position. Steve Van Buren was 69, but Jalen is only 25. I mean, as long as the brotherly shove isn't outlawed, I'm pretty confident that Jalen's going to break that record because it's foolproof. Although it continued to feel that way with Dallas on the ensuing possession when Dak found his favorite receiver of the night before Nakobe Dean and Fletcher Cox got a sack. It's worth noting that Dean left the game later with a foot injury while slamming his helmet on the ground before going into the locker room. So as sad as it is, it's looking like the linebacker's going to miss some time, which I really hate because the dude just can't catch a break. Thankfully, we caught a break though when Michael Gallup dropped an easy first down, marking at least one of 4 drops the Dallas receivers had, and bringing in Brandon Aubrey for a 51-yard attempt to make it 17-14 Dallas. But with a minute 15 left on the clock and 2 timeouts, Philly tried to work its way down the field before the half. However, the scare of the night happened when Jalen was sacked by Micah Parsons and had his knee rolled up on by DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't know about you, but as if this game didn't do this to me already, I aged like Lane Johnson after that.
Yeah, we aged in dog years, so I entered the game 33, but I'm probably about 42 right now.
Okay, honestly, I thought Jalen was done at that point. I mean, obviously it didn't look good, and second glances clearly showed his knee taking the blow, and left tackle Jordan Mailata was definitely concerned when he first saw it.
I was doubtful. I was like, damn, this is going to be a long night, especially if QB1's down. I mean, we have that X-Man mentality for sure, and we trust in Marcus. But it's like, you don't want to get to that position where you have to rely on QB2, which we can, but we pride ourselves on protecting him and keep a clean pocket. And first half, I didn't do a good enough job of that. And but thank God he's a warrior. Thank God he's a warrior because he played through it. And even after the game, just talking to him, just him saying like, I'm sitting there explaining to him what was going through my head and why I let him get sacked, and he's like, move on for it. I'm like, I can't. So I got to talk to you about these things, dude, because I don't want to see you get sacked. It pisses me off. I was like, I don't need anybody else telling me how to do my job. I know how to do it. I know the standard of it, and I'm gonna get my corrections. I already know my corrections because I already know what happened. But thank God. Warrior, man.
Okay, first off, I love the passion that Jordan has for protecting Hurts as well as taking the ownership on that side, but how impressive was it and insane that Jalen came back in and didn't show any signs of injury? All right, I guess it's not that crazy.
Man, for this team, for this city, I'll do anything. And I'm just happy we were able to come out and get a win because that's all that matters in the end. We just want to continue to build momentum, continue to clean things up. Obviously, did a good job of protecting the ball, but to continue to press forward, continue to grow into the team we know we can be.
Dude, is Jalen even real? The fact that he came back in and shook off the injury while making plays with his legs is crazy. Although despite looking okay, QB1 suggested the injury really does need time to recover.
Kind of been playing in Byard this whole entire time, and it comes to a point where it is truly a whatever it takes mentality. But that's a great team win, and selfishly, I don't think the bye week could have come at a better time.
Okay, look, we've obviously seen Jalen being limited on his knee at times, but the fact that he came out and actually admitted it for once that he clearly needs rest speaks for something. Plus, Lane Johnson echoed it by saying Hurts has shown some incredible grit, while BG even alluded to Jalen dealing with more than we know. But like I've said before, we'll probably never know the full extent of the injury, much like the shoulder injury he suffered last season against Chicago. Yet after leaving a couple plays before the half ended, Hurts shockingly walked around fine with a message for the team at half.
We have a high standard, and tonight, first half, didn't reach that standard. Didn't reach the standard. He let me know because we have that relationship where he can yell at me and cuss at me and tell me what he really thinks because I'm not going to take offense to it. Because I know damn well the standard wasn't met tonight, especially in that first half. And we came in here, he calmed back down. We looked each other in the eye and we talked about the corrections that we need to make, and we went out there and we executed.
Yep, which is exactly what the Birds did, opening up the second half with a 6-play, 60-yard drive, capped off by a Jalen Hurts I'm all good pass to Smitty for 29 yards and the score against Deron Bland in coverage, putting the Eagles up 21-17, and it feels like we see one of these types of plays every week, whether it's from AJ or Devontae or both. On the other side of the ball, the Philly defense showed up a little bit, getting a stop for the first time since the opening drive of the game and giving the ball back to the offense, as Jalen and co put together the most impressive drive of the game, going 11 plays, 87 yards in 6 minutes, where Hurts found A.J. Brown on a 4-yard score to put the Eagles up 11 near the end of the third quarter, which was obviously great to take the lead. However, unfortunately, Goedert was significantly injured on the drive, as it was reported after the game that DG suffered a fractured forearm and will have surgery as soon as possible with the hope that he only misses 4 weeks. But like Outside the Bird said, if Dallas is placed on IR, he won't be eligible to return until Week 15 against the Seahawks. If the Eagles keep him on their active roster and he's fully healed in 4 weeks, he could return by Week 14 against the Cowboys. but my guess is he's placed on IR given the fact that Grant Calcaterra is already recovering from a concussion as well. All right, either way, it's definitely a blow to the offense, but I don't know, maybe we see a little bit more of Albert O. You'd think that's a given with the athletic freak of a tight end Big Al is, but could we get an addition to the roster now, or at least to the practice squad? I mean, I've seen names like Dan Arnold, which makes a whole lot of sense because remember, he was here around training camp, plus he kind of makes up for the pass catcher element of it. Yet some suggested a potential Richard Rodgers signing, or even bringing Gronk out of retirement. And as cool as that may be, I feel like the most realistic is Dan Arnold. I don't know, what do you guys think? But okay, so getting back to the game, with the Eagles leading 28-17, Dallas looked like they'd answer quickly, with Dak finding CeeDee Lamb for a couple more big games before eventually converting on this 4th and 1, and then Kevin Byard being called for 15 yards with some extracurricular activity. Although on second glance, Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson was seen throwing Byard off the pile, so in my biased opinion, shouldn't have really been called for that. Fortunately, it didn't matter though, with the Cowboys getting to 3rd and goal with Dak taking off for the end zone, but I don't think anyone really thought he'd go for it.
People down here are starting to murmur that you don't have the balls to do it.
Well, give him credit, I guess, because Mr. I own an 8-3 record against the Eagles sure did try.
Oh, look, he's flying.
I mean, this dude took flight and got flipped upside down while being turned into a meme of honey. Oh yeah, the new updated record pick is pretty nice too. But the play from Dak was something Slay was a little surprised to see.
Knowing Dak for a long time, I did not know his vert was that high because he got up there, so shout out to Dak. I think he could dunk now. At first I didn't think he could dunk. But now that he just did that, I think he could dunk.
All right, not gonna lie, I wasn't sure that the defense could get a stop in that situation. I know that's terrible faith, but I'm just being honest. However, the Cowgirls decided to go for it on 4th and goal, which looked like they got in for 6 on the initial glance, until the replay showed Reed Blankenship had stopped Schoonmaker an inch short of the plane, resulting in a turnover on downs. But a quick 3 and out from the offense and a free crowd surfing ride for Micah Parsons set up Dallas with half the field to go, where Dak and CeeDee continued their onslaught before Prescott found Jalen Tolbert on consecutive wide open plays to get within 1 possession. Yet the one beauty was the fact that during the 2-point try, it looked like Dak had converted initially. However, after further review, number 4 stepped out of bounds before reaching the pylon thanks to some great hustle by BG and poor awareness by the Cowgirls leader. Luckily, BG wasn't done making plays though, after the O couldn't pick up a first down when BG drew up a deep shot to AJ on 3rd and 3. And I don't know, personally, I would have preferred a run or a short pass because as we already know, if you get it to 4th and 1 or shorter, you're almost guaranteed to pick it up with a brotherly shove. Of course, Sirianni defended the play call after the game, but it just feels like we could have done better in that instance. I know, it's easier to say that now after the fact. But like I mentioned, number 55 saved his best for last, getting a sack on Dak Prescott to back up Dallas 7 yards, and then on the very next play, beat Still again to split the sack with Jalen Carter, eventually leading to a turnover on downs. Now, I'm sure you and I have both heard all the whining and complaining from Dallas fans, certainly on the last couple drives. And sure, did James Bradbury get a little hands to the face on Gallup? Maybe so, but what about Steele's hands to the face on Graham? Come on, let's at least be consistent, but maybe that's too much to ask. Much like it was too much to ask our offense to pick up a first down and put the game away, as A.J. Brown basically tackled DeAndre Swift, causing him to fumble, and thank God for Tyler Steen being able to recover. Still though, that was 3 consecutive 3 and out to close the game, which is similar to what happened last week. Something the team cannot continue doing.
You have times in the game where you're a repeat offender, or throughout a season where you're a repeat offender of a mistake that you've had prior to. And I feel like for us, our offense in the end of that game, we were a repeat offender where we had an opportunity in the last game last week to put the game away, and we did not. And we put our defense back on the field. That's not what you want to do. And we did that kind of today too as well. So those are opportunities for us to grow, and we need to learn from that. But I think for our defense and being in the situations that they've been in, and I rarely ever talk about that. Obviously, we all have a role, and we all challenge ourselves to be better at our roles and in our jobs. But you look at the defense and the situations that they've been in throughout the season and how they showed up today in this moment, whether it was a DPI, a holding, or whatever, they found a way to respond. And so it's a great job by them.
Okay, I'm all for the continued learning and growth, plus like Jalen said, the team has yet to play a complete game. And while that's definitely the positive spin on it, I think all of our personal healths wouldn't mind more complete games so that we don't die.
We got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off!
Sorry, but that's what it felt like on Dallas's final drive. Despite Dak needing to go 86 yards in 46 seconds and 0 timeouts, The first play of pass interference on James Bradberry to move the ball up to the 50 made it a lot easier. And then with JB looking like he'd suffered a significant knee injury, it's like everything started to crumble as Slay was injured on a 10-yard pass to the Dallas tight end, leaving both starting DBs out. Oh yeah, and Hassan Reddick's roughing the passer pushed the ball up to the Philly 25, followed by a Lamb completion to the 11. Not sure what you were thinking at that moment, but I'm sad to say I was thinking I would be doing a losing game recap. Although I'm happy to say I was wrong because it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, and Josh Sweat's sack was the ultimate game saver. Yet the Selly afterward had Sirianni a little anxious since there was still time for another play.
Man, it was huge, but man, he started to celebrate. Like, good thing his celebration's quick. Like, man, I'm like, get back out there.
Okay, something we can laugh about now, but it wouldn't have been as funny if we had lost. Fortunately, Dak's final attempt was completed short of the end zone with Lamb being stopped and Howie Roseman going crazy to start the celebration with the team after the game. By the way, congrats to those of you who picked the Ghost and the fourth quarter as the first turnover since that was the only turnover of the game. All right, so I'll go through over the next couple days to determine who got those selections correct, and then we'll do a drawing to determine the winner. Also, just in case you're not subbed already, make sure to hit the sub button so you can get on the next giveaway. Of course, while you're at it, feel free to join the channel as a member for as low as $3, where if you join between now and the end of November, you'll automatically be entered to win 2 Eagles regular season tickets of your choice. All right, but speaking of Dallas, the beauty is we can all be like Fletcher Cox this week.
It's always good, right? Because I get to go home to a bunch of Dallas fans and talk a little crap, but it's always fun, man. We always make this fun, and that's a really good football team we just played. Now let's get that right. You know, a team that's got good offense, good defense, and like I said, today was just our day.
I love it, and Fletch is right. This was a really good win. So be sure to rub it in or yell it in their face this week like Jason Kelce did. However, as we all know, the NFL isn't all fun and games since the league hit sexy Batman with a drug test immediately following the game. Really, man, on dude's birthday?
It is your birthday, period. Statement of fact.
Okay, whatever. Hopefully Kelce got to enjoy those beers like he said he was going to after the game. But the bigger statement of fact is that we're 8-1, like Sirianni pointed out after the game. You are what your record says you are. However, Jalen might slightly argue that point as he called out the unit to be better.
I feel like we have to be better. We have to be better. We have to continue to grow. As I said, I'm as hungry as ever to continue to kind of strive for those new heights. But I think it all comes down to execution and how we execute. And when we do that at a high level, we're pretty good. You know, when we're not, we're not. And so it's a matter of everybody being on the same page and growing through that together. You know, this is obviously a very important time for everyone as we enter this phase of the season. And no, it comes down to execution.
Look, I'm with QB. Yes, it feels nice to be 8-1, but I think we all realize there's a little to be desired. At the same time, I'm hopeful and maybe cautiously optimistic, thinking the group can get it figured out over the bye. Since Sirianni shared the team will be doing a lot of self-scouting and self-evaluations over the break, my biggest concern continues to be the pass defense, especially how Desai's unit gives up so much to slot receivers and tight ends. Like Jeff McClain pointed out, the Eagles' breakdown versus mainly CeeDee Lamb, but also other receivers in the slot Sunday, was Eli Ricks' 32 snaps, allowed 4 of 4 passes for 72 yards, Byard 15 snaps, 3 of 3 for 71 yards, Sidney Brown 13 snaps, 4 of 4 for 50 yards and a touchdown, Reed Blankenship 8, 1 of 2 for 0 yards, and Darius Slay 4 snaps, 1 of 2 for 13 yards. I don't know, hopefully the return of Bradley Roby off the bye helps. But Desai's gonna have to figure out something quick with Kansas City coming up next week because you know Andy Reid will have a great game plan, especially with an extra week to prep. But it is worth noting how massive the win against Dallas was though, since like James shared, if Philly goes 3-2 in their next 5 games and wins in weeks 16 through 18 versus the Giants and Arizona, and then the Giants again, they would clinch the NFC East. It wouldn't even matter if the Cowboys were able to go 9-0 during that stretch. There you go. We control our own destiny, and obviously it's going to be tough, but somehow this team finds a way to be resilient, especially whenever it matters most. And I'll also be looking forward to seeing how much more we might see of Nolan Smith after Derek Barnett was a healthy and active against Dallas, with reports saying the Eagles are going to try and implement the Rook more into the defense over the next several weeks, which, no surprise, I love. All right, sure, there's more to work on, but being 8-1, controlling our destiny, and heading into the bye to get healthier feels pretty good to me. But as always, let me know what you guys think. What were all of your takeaways from Week 9? Remember, Dallas sucks and go Birds. This has been the Philly Special.